Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Aquarius energy, and like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Aquarius energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. We all have our dualistic nature, and we have our dualistic nature also in our Aquarius energy. We have the free will to choose to align with our more hopeful, believing high vibe Aquarius energy or our more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. And so it can just be the difference of if we kind of have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, if we are able to look at life from a higher perspective, keep things in perspective, not get all caught up in our head, kind of seeing the truth, that the truth sets you free. And if you work through, the bottom row can represent some of our fears, insecurities, past pain, heartbreak, things like that. If we work through those things, then it's kind of like we free ourselves from a trap, something that was kind of manipulating us and kind of affecting how we viewed ourselves, how we viewed the world, what we believed was possible. And when we work through it, then it sets us free. It's like baggage that we dropped. But you have to decide to want to deal with the truth of some things. And it's offering love to it. I want to offer love to myself, love, compassion, forgiveness for being a fallible human being who has some lessons to learn. And then I'm going to offer that to other people in my life and accept everyone was where they were at. Everyone is where they are at. The only person I can change is me, and I'm going to change me. And everybody else can do what they want, you know? And not willing to give up on your dreams. Aquarius can be about what our dreams are. And sometimes, we could, especially like the younger we are, but at different times in our life, we could be much more codependent on other people and more caught up maybe in what people think of us or how people view us, and instead of just living our authentic life. And because the thing is, people are going to think what they're going to think regardless, based on who they are. I mean, it really doesn't matter what you do. There's going to be people in the world that are going to be rude and unjust and unfair and bossy or controlling, because that's who they are. Don't take it personally. Let other people, assign them responsibility for their own actions and see it as being shadowy. And it's not going to affect how you view yourself or your life or what you're working on or pursuing in your life. But some people still really get up in their head about it. And some people could be up in their head about shit like that all their life. So let's go see how different people are harnessing their Aquarius energy. This might be more something right now that can be a struggle for people who are at Aquarius sun sign, moon, rising, got significant Aquarius placements. But in turn, we all tap into Aquarius energy, kind of how we view life. Are we more caught up in the world? Do we get caught up in our head? Are we able to look at life from a higher perspective? Are we not? Do we have some more hope and faith and belief? Do we think we just need to work with these things of the world? Do we think we have more to work with other than just these things of the world? So depending on how some people harness if you harness high vibe Aquarius as we go through the story, you're going to want to be in a relationship with other people who do. And you might not have. Okay. So, the reason for the bottom rose reading is the High Priestess, which in shadow can be that emotionally, right before it, we have the Five of Swords. Some people have mental conflict about the High Priestess, and High Vibe means listening to your intuition. It's Pisces and Cancer energy, getting out of your head, getting more balance within yourself, that there can be all these things that we want or things that can bother us, but are we able to maintain balance within ourselves and not get so caught up in our head and listen to our love and intuition, is like what Cancer and Pisces in high vibe would be. And some people have went through some experiences, just like some other people, but those people offered love to the situation, love to themselves and the situation. They wanted to work together with people cooperatively, is what the Three of Pentacles can talk about, in a just and fair, balanced, loving way. And they could have had some mental conflict because some of the people in their life, that doesn't seem to be their truth. Over here we have the Eight of Swords, which is Gemini energy in their dualistic nature, which is what Gemini talks about. Some of you could have been dealing with Gemini. But in their dualistic nature, because some relationships haven't worked out in their past, in the Five of Cups, they could be up in a mental prison about taking people's offer of love to work with them cooperatively, because to go from the Eight of Swords down to the Five of Swords, oops, got an alarm on my phone, they'd have to work through the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords can be heartbreak, past pain and heartbreak, but the Three of Swords also, it's right up here, represents Libra energy, which is represented by the scales of justice. For some people, they just have to get more balance within themselves, and that means they'd have to work through some of those things that have them up in their head. And that all takes time and takes work and effort, and they just might not be there yet. And some other people can accept that. They don't get up in their ego about it. And they listen to their intuition. You know, I, at different times, had more fears, insecurities, unresolved past pain and heartbreak I hadn't dealt with in relationship to other people. You know, hopefully I had, at different times in my life, more stable, balanced, loving, compassionate people who could see the truth of it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to let you do that. You don't seem to be ready to work together in this way. And then those people could have moved on with people who are more on the same page as them. We, in turn, can know people that are in that position in regards to us. You know, things can all kind of be relative in the fact that you could know people that you could feel are more up in their head, or more shadowy, or more immature, or more bossy, more controlling, whatever, right? Those people, in turn, could have people in their life that they view that way. And those people in their life could have people they view that way. You know, we're all trying to find people who are kind of on the same page as we are at the same time. And we can all have some past pain and heartbreak, some fears, some insecurities, some defensiveness, some mental conflict. And, you know, sometimes we're able to work through those things with those people, and sometimes we're not. But one thing could be, in the Libra energy kind of being the difference here, this is Aquarius, this is Gemini, the third one is Libra. Those are all three of the air signs. You know, just what we think is just and fair is different. You could think a way of living life that you could feel is a little more stable, grounded, mature, is just and fair, and they could think living life this way is more just and fair. And you just have these different ideas of kind of how you want to live your life and what you think is just and fair. And, you know, you could have different dreams, your idea of the dream life, where you want to live, where they want to live, different philosophies of life that you have. If people want to get married or not get married, I kind of say that because of the Hierophant. And the Hierophant can have to do with marriage. But it can have to do with all these different things, institutions kind of the world. It could do with race, ethnicity, religion, lifestyle. You know, Taurus kind of dictates our philosophy of life, of why we do what we do. We think a certain way. It's like the Supreme Court in our own head that dictates the decisions that we do based on kind of what we value, our opinions on things, how we want to live our life, what we think is just and fair, who and what we want to invest time, energy, and effort into, our idea of the dream life. And there's just so many factors, you know, we're just such complex human beings, you know. You could get a whole bunch of people in a room and ask them, even if it was all people of a certain age, even if they were of a certain demographic or religion or ethnicity or sex or whatever, And if you had a big list of all the different things, let's rate them for social activities, bowling, or a movie, or going for a walk, or riding bike, or going on a balloon ride, or horseback riding, or fishing, or gardening, or landscaping, and you try, and that's just in that kind of category. Then it's like, do you like to drink alcohol? What do you think? How much do you like to drink? What is out of your range of unacceptable drinking limits, And that's that kind of category. And then what about eating and what kind of food you like? And if you like to go out, if you like to stay in, what you will eat, what you won't eat. Well, you definitely would not want anybody to serve you. Just all these different categories of all the different things goes to show how complex we are. Can we meet people and can we get along with them well enough? Yeah. We can work with people. You could have mental conflict with some of the people you work with or in your family or in your neighborhood. People could work with you, but they could have some mental conflict about you or whatever, With a lot of people, we can get along with them because, having had some life experience, we know there's all kinds of different folks in the world, and most people aren't so rigid, like, oh my goodness, I cannot even talk to you or work with you because we have this kind of difference. We'd all think it was really ridiculous if somebody was like, oh my goodness, I cannot work with you anymore, and I don't even want to talk to you anymore because I hear you go bowling once a month. We'd think that was ridiculous, right? So, and that also kind of the Hierophant is all these different philosophies and belief systems that people have. And we can look around the world, especially like with religion, and you should dance, you shouldn't dance, you should sing, you shouldn't sing, you should be able to wear a dress, you shouldn't be able to wear a dress, you have to wear pants, you should never wear a dress. It just... I also view high vibe Aquarius as that, which also kind of aligns with high vibe Taurus, which high vibe Taurus is getting more out of being so caught up in conforming to the world, which is what some people are really caught up about. It consumes them. What do other people think of me? And, trying to act like everyone else acts instead of just living their more authentic life and getting along, kind of willing to get along with other people and see who's just more on the same page as you. Some people could view certain people as having a certain status and image more than them. And then it's always to want to hang out with those people or something, even if they like them or they don't like them, But high vibe would be, what? We can all get caught up in the world. We can all want some of these things of the world. We can all get up in our head. We can all have had past heartbreak or regret. But the fives also talk about change. And I don't want to be so caught up in my head or my past or my fears or things that people have done, will do, are doing, I can't control other people. All I can do is offer truth and love to people. That would be high vibe Five of Swords. The Five of Swords comes after the Three and the Four of Swords. I have been heartbroken. I have been immature. I have been whatever. I have healed. The Four of Swords in between here is the Four of Swords. I have meditated on the truth of things, and I have healed from some things that manipulated me, and I'm ready to take action from a more balanced position of just maybe having grown and matured myself and worked through some of my own issues to see the truth of it and know that I don't want to repeat certain behaviors in my life and ways of living life or viewing life or treating people or acting or behaving. And if there's some people in my life that I do feel still are kind of at a stage of life where I've already been there and it doesn't matter, they could be 30 years older than you, right? And some people are very fearful or bossy or controlling or manipulative or insecure or full of themselves, right? And it's like, no. I've already dealt with people like that, and to whatever degree within myself I can relate to my own shadowy nature, I don't want to repeat that pattern anymore. So everybody kind of distances themselves in their life from people in their life who they think are a little more shadowy, right? And we could have mental conflict with that because some of those people up here we have the devil card, which the devil card looks kind of just like the lover's card, but instead of an angel, there's a devil. And these people have chains and shackles on them, and those people don't. So they can, what I'm getting at is in the devil card, it can represent these people that we have a worldly connection with. And just like it could be a person in our life, like they could be, again, a family member, a long term friend. The devil can also be people that we were attracted to, somebody that we were attracted to. And, we wanted to be in a relationship with them. We were in a relationship with them. We wanted to marry them. We did marry them. We're in a family with them. But the devil can also represent a workplace. So we can always have situations and maybe people in our life that we have this kind of worldly connection with. With some of those people, we can maybe only distance ourselves so far, and we might only want to distance ourselves so far. If it's someone that we meet in our neighborhood or at work or socially, and they're just someone we met in the world, and we could see that, I don't know, I point to the top row because sometimes shadowy people, try to present themselves as more high vibe than they are. And then as we move forward in the relationship, we kind of find out that, no, they're kind of maybe juggling the truth, is what the Two of Pentacles can be. Try to create the illusion they're more just and fair and balanced. These two cards, Libra, being represented by the Scales of Justice, and the Two of Pentacles, which is Capricorn energy, which anyone can harness those energies in a more really shadowy way. Could be people who are maybe more a little shadowy is what the devil can be, which can just be they're more about the world. That's kind of more the driving factor of why they want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. You want to be in a relationship. That seems like a good idea. We would look like we've got justice in the world. We should move forward in it. We would look like shining stars. But let's hide, shadowy high priestess, let's hide from the truth. Let's harness our Aquarius energy in a shadowy way. We maybe haven't healed and grown and matured ourselves, but we decided, let's just move forward in this friendship or relationship anyway. Because I have mental conflict maybe about the truth or love or anything I need to work through to be enlightened to the fact that it should be about love. If you're going to be in a romantic relationship, it should be because of love. Well, there's some people in the world that are up in a mental prison about doing love, but they want to be in a relationship. So then there's this mental conflict is what the Five of Swords talks about. I don't want to do love because then I have to work through those fears or those insecurities, or I've got to come out from behind my ego to be more open, kind of vulnerable to getting hurt. And for some people, they had this idea, I'm just going to juggle the truth. I'll just present myself as being less fearful, less insecure, less codependent, have dealt with my past pain and heartbreak, which maybe some of them haven't. I might be bossy or controlling. I might be egotistical or full of myself. I might be immature. I might be abusive, whatever their thing is. And they had the idea, I'll just juggle the truth. I don't really have to heal. I don't really have to offer love to those things to free myself from those things. And they might think that's what everyone else does. Because they could see other people that are moving forward in life differently than them. But they might not understand it. How did they do that? How did they work through some of these things that I haven't been able to figure out how to work through? And they just might not want to see the truth that that is the way to free yourself, is you actually have to do this work to free yourself. High vibe Capricorn versus low vibe Capricorn, you have to free yourself from things that manipulate you. And it takes work and effort. Capricorn is earth sign energy. And when people free themselves from things that manipulate them and they have healed, they kind of go to that next stage of life, and kind of the devil can represent that other people could view you as maybe more stable, more grounded, more loving, more mature. The devil can be things that people are attracted to. So instead of harnessing your energy in a more shadowy way, you harness it in a more high vibrational way, which can get people in a shadowy devil energy towards you, because they could definitely be attracted to you and want to be in a relationship with you, because you might be more stable, grounded, mature, just, fair, balanced than some of the people they've been in a relationship with. And they could think, you know what, I think I'm going to pick up my investment in those people, and I should come get in a relationship with you because you don't act like them. You did this work to free yourself. You seem like someone I want to be in a relationship with. um, and there could be people who would like to be in a relationship with you because they don't like the relationship they're in. But then they could have mental conflict about getting out of that relationship, might be more concerned with, anybody can have a hard time getting out of a relationship, even if it's a bad relationship. And partly, hopefully with the high vibe people, it's because they had love for those people. Like if it's a romantic relationship, right? And in between the 8 and the 1 sword is the 7 of swords, which is also Aquarius energy. It's all this mental conflict about kind of letting go of a past dream, picking up your investment in something, but people can equally have a hard time, like if they're in a workplace where they don't really like the workplace, or they don't like a supervisor, or they don't really like something about it, and they'd kind of like to pick up their investment in it, but, we as human beings, and Aquarius and Taurus is fixed sign energy, and Scorpio is fixed sign energy. When we've invested in something, we would like it to work out the way we want it to work out. We'd like those jobs to work out, those friendships to work out, those romantic relationships to work out. We really don't like picking up our investment, in those things, especially if there was things about it that we loved, or people in that situation that we loved. And then in the Hangman can talk about feeling stuck. And the Four of Pentacles can be that, we can stay in a state of mental conflict for quite a while in those situations while we're trying to work through all this emotional conflict, inner conflict. Because, again, with in between the 8 and the 1 is the 7 of Swords, which can talk about in Aquarius that we had this dream we wanted to bring into reality. And we have a lot of mental conflict of picking up our investment in it, or if someone else already picked up their investment in it and moved on. We can sit here kind of afraid to move on, maybe hoping those people will work through some of their mental conflict, or the 7 of Swords can also talk about, people can have their own mental conflict, but some people have fear of listening to their intuition, kind of the difference between the 7 and the 5. Some people have a lot of mental conflict about change, to go from the 8 down to the 5 to the 3. They'd have to work through the 5 and just to step outside their comfort zone, look at life differently, kind of implement some of these things that they've kind of learned into it becoming a new habit. Whenever we're going to try to stop an old pattern or ways of living life or viewing life or treating people or indulging ourselves in some way, those things don't, it's hard. And if we all were to think back on any habits that we tried to quit doing, like, for example, like say, hopefully when you're younger, We can have our own harsh, critical inner voice. And I also view Queen of Swords as Aquarius energy. And Queen of Swords to me can kind of represent that, where emotionally in our own head, we can be harsh and critical to ourselves, and we can kind of belittle and berate ourselves. Well, we kind of might wrap our brain around that, and maybe knowing some other people who kind of might tell us, or we should stop doing that when we say that. And it's like, why do you do that? Well, when we try to work through that habit, you can go to bed at night and you could decide that's it tomorrow, because high vibe would be getting to a place where you are taking over that role of kind of being a good spiritual advisor in your own life, which is high vibe Taurus Hierophant, and like being a good mother, father, coach voice to yourself, because I'm assuming nobody's a child anymore, and we need to learn to take over that role within ourselves, or we could always have mental conflict about playing that role in our own life. And because of that, we could stay in more codependent energy, looking for other people to love us and validate our worth and value, versus us doing that within ourselves. And there's always going to be people in the world that are like, yeah, come on over here. Yeah, don't love and believe in yourself. Yeah, don't know your worth and value. Come on over here. I'm sad. I'm in a mental prison. I'm heartbroken. But hey, I will try to present myself as a more just and fair and stable person that your dreams can come into reality with. Oh, but by the way, I'm never really going to do love. Oh, I'm never going to really try to look at things from your perspective. Oh, I'm never going to work through my issues that manipulate me. If you get in a relationship with me, I want us to do it that way forever. I don't want you to free yourself or heal, because I don't plan to free myself and heal from things that manipulate me. And for some people who've been around that track enough times, it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I've kind of seen the truth that I am motivated and inspired to want to heal and to love and believe in myself. And I don't want to be in a relationship more for just these reasons of the world. I don't want to be and get in a relationship or stay in a relationship because of my fear of loving and believing in myself. I don't want to give up my dreams to make my life more about someone else or something else or codependency or just for these things of the world. I did have a dream. And I had a dream of being in relationships who were motivated and inspired and enlightened to the truth that it should be about love. And if I'm going to be in a romantic relationship, I want it to be inspired by love. And have enough life experience to realize with some people, they're like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this. And if in some relationships you did do some work to heal and grow and mature yourself, or, if one person does some of that work within themselves, something that when they could have initially got in a job, a friendship, or relationship, they hadn't done something, worked through something that manipulated them. If they do that work during the course of that situation, they change. They're not the same person they were when they got in it. And then the other people, though, if they didn't do some of that work within themselves, they're kind of like, hey, what are you doing over there? You seem to be different. You seem to look at life differently, is what the hangman could be. And it's also Pisces energy, which is about connecting in with your emotions and listening to your intuition or your more hopeful, believing, loving nature. Why aren't you just more about these things and looking to these things to make you feel better? Why aren't you still more just making your life more about me or more codependent on me? You seem to have freed yourself from something. You seem to look at life differently. You seem to not want to engage in certain ways of acting or behaving or vices or activities like you used to, And this is kind of the same thing that we go through when we go from being age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25. We live our life a certain way. If we have a dream of not living our life that way forever, we communicate, which some people did in the swords card, to some people in their life. Hey, I live my life a certain way, or we have lived our life together a certain way. Or other people that you might have gotten out of relationships with some people and communicated with some other people. Hey, I'm living my life a little differently. I kind of look, healed or grew and mature myself. I'm moving forward. you know, I picked up my investment in some old ways of living life or viewing life. Are you on that page? Do you want to move forward with me? And the truth is, some of those people will, whether it's, again, people you just tried to get to know in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in your community. Some of those people are like, what? No way, man. I'm not going to do that. That's really different, Or you look at life differently than I look at life. And again, they might be in their own shadowy energy within themselves or in some shadowy friendships or relationships. Maybe they would have people in their life that wouldn't move forward with them. And if those people wouldn't move forward with them and be okay with it, then they're not going to move forward without those people in a way, or live their life different or go do anything different. And so sometimes we can go through a phase where we can feel kind of stuck and kind of conflicted because some of the people in our environment don't seem to be the right people to get in a more involved relationship with. Again, can we know people and get along with different people? Sure. Some people are holding back from getting in a more involved friendship or relationship with people because it's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think, you could feel that way towards some people. Some people could feel that way towards you. Those people in turn could feel that way towards other people. Again, we're just kind of looking, and high vibe energy is kind of being patient. It can be kind of frustrating. It can have us a little bit up in our head. We have this dream. We would like to be in these friendships and relationships. But sometimes it's kind of like going through a season of life where spring, summer, fall, and winter. And sometimes it makes me think about even when I was young and like in elementary, I kind of changed schools. And I think sometimes when I change schools, some of the other people are like, oh my gosh, like I've known these people forever and I can kind of like them. But, of course, they've had their scuffles between them. And that's just kind of like waiting, kind of like, is anybody new going to come to this school? And then you could be really scared, just like people can be scared to go get in new friendships or relationships or go get a new job. But sometimes those people are really waiting for someone else. Everybody can be waiting to meet people who are more on the same page as them. But if we're not kind of getting out of the situations that kind of our intuition is kind of telling us that we should get out of, it's like that high vibe energy and that potential is there. Not maybe immediately, but we be patient and we don't repeat some poor past patterns and we keep moving forward, willing to get to know people, and we will find probably some people, because we're not interested in repeating an old pattern, that are kind of more on the same page. And initially it can feel maybe a little different because, again, it's a new environment, just like when you do go get a new job. But what I was going to say about transferring schools when I was younger is it seemed like there could have been, a lot of people who kind of wanted to be your friend because they'd already been with friends with the people they've been friends with. And they'd already had like their scuffles, So it was like kind of looking to meet someone new and happy that somebody else new kind of came into the environment. And so, though, there could be other people who don't like it, there can always be an environment that's kind of shadowy and that there's more people in favor or going along with the program that kind of are being more shadowy, you know. We either have high vibe people kind of leading the group or the workplace or the social group or the friend group, or we kind of have more shadowy people, right? And but within a group that's kind of shadowy, there can always be more high vibe people that are kind of frustrated with it. And they kind of wish maybe if some other people, again, would move in that neighborhood, come to that workplace, come into their social life, because that can help switch up the dynamics and it can kind of flip. You know? And so sometimes if you're that person who isn't on a more shadowy tinge, you can come into a situation and they can really appreciate you, even though initially they didn't know if they would or not. Just like people coming into a new social group or friend group, like, I don't know about you, and are you kind of, you know, we already know some of these people. We've already been working with them. We're already friends with them, and we know they're kind of shadowy, and we know how they present you know, it takes time to get to know people to really kind of find out the truth of who they are. And people can be hold back a little bit, and it is more like, well, let's get to know each other. You, in turn, concerned that they're kind of shadowy. They, in turn, fearful that you're kind of shadowy. And then, as you, though, are willing to get to know each other and kind of see, you know, how over a period of time, maybe, then it's like, okay, I don't think this person's more shadowy. I think this person is someone who kind of is more who they say they are, is a little more just or fair or balanced than some of the other people I've known or work with or the neighborhood or the social group. And I do think this is someone I would like to work with, but still with some of the people, you know, it's just kind of taking it to the next phase of, okay, I'm less defensive than I was. Now let's get to know each other at this phase. And then once that next phase has gone by, then people might let go of their reservations because their intuition tells them that, you know, you harness your Aquarius, your Libra, your Cancer, your Pisces, your Taurus, you know, your Gemini, your Scorpio in a high vibe way. And kind of also seeing, as we do throughout any situation in our life, we're kind of gauging people at any time, because at any time people can have the free will to start to be more shadowy if they want, you know. That's free will. And sometimes, you know, people will get caught up in their head, or sometimes people will kind of get jealous and envious. Sometimes some people were kind of juggling the truth of who they were, and they really do like to be more indulged, or they really do like to be more bossy or controlling or something, you know, and they can kind of fake it for a while, but then, you know, other people do kind of listen to their intuition, and it's just kind of interesting, you know, the little kind of subtle cues you kind of get from people, like where, I don't know, you know, being a little snarky or a little whatever, you know, even non-verbally, but you can just sense it kind of. And, you know, it's kind of like, because that's not really the truth of who they are, but they're trying to present themselves as that kind of person. And then periodically it might be a little more noticeable. And, you know, it's kind of eventually, it's kind of like those people don't want to hang out with these people. And these people less want to hang out with those people. And so just like in social groups and workplaces or neighborhoods, people can kind of, if they were willing to, you know, just, you can only do it so long. You know, we all want to kind of more hang out with people that think whatever way we think or live life whatever way we live, where we can be more authentically ourselves. And if there's some people that you could view as a little bit shadowy or hurtful, don't know what they want, seem to be up in a mental prison, a little more codependent or a little more materialistic, or want to be indulged or juggle the truth, you're going to want to hang out with people that you feel aren't like that, you know, and then, to appreciate those people and hold on to those people. And, again, when we're in a relationship with people who are treating us in a more just and fair way, everybody has to take responsibility for maintaining this balance within themselves and making that free will choice that I am going to keep putting in work and effort out of love for these people or this job or appreciation to want to work together with people like this. And this is more aligned with my truth. But it continues to require to take work and effort to maintain balance within yourself, to not think it's just and fair for you to be more deceptive or manipulative or prideful or immature or whatever, right? And at any time in a relationship, someone, could decide, well, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. This does take work and effort. I can't be just more about myself. And we can all be tempted in our lust and our greed and our pride and our ego. And when some people had that choice, and that's funny, the Lover's card used to be called the Choice card, and they kind of could have had conflict between their mind and their heart in their kind of Libra and Gemini nature of free will. What is kind of more my truth? Do I want to do love? Do I want to act more with character and integrity? Do I want to keep choosing to work together with people and try to see things from their perspective and be inspired more by love? Or do I want to let that go and think, I'll just make it more about me? I might be sad if it doesn't work out, or I let it go. But I think I'd rather just be about myself, or more about the world, or go indulge myself. And some people could think because they have a certain, well, some of the people that some of you could know always were people who maybe weren't sure. I mean, they could have known that they're pretty caught up in the world, the ego and the image or the status, or thinking they shouldn't have to change. They have a certain status or image in the world, or a certain level of attractiveness, or whatever it is. Of course, it could all just be up in their head. That, I think I could get in a relationship with someone else where they would be more the one who has to change. I would seem like this just and fair and stable and grounded and mature person in comparison to them. And that is sometimes the relationship dynamic some people like better, where they are not in a relationship where they would ever have to change. They always seem like the more stable, grounded, mature person by the type of people they get in a relationship with. Even if it's hurtful, even if there's things about it they don't like, they didn't have to deal with any of their issues. They didn't ever have to grow and heal and mature. And for some people, it's kind of like playing the martyr. Oh my gosh, I know. Look how awful they are. I know. They're just so hard to deal with, male or female. But they would rather be in a relationship like that, because then they don't have to change. And for some, we all like to stay in our comfort zone. For some people, that can be their comfort zone. I think all of us, at times in our life, have gone out with people where we kind of didn't want to see the truth. And part of it could be that we really hadn't learned to love ourselves. And for other people, I suppose, and it can be a mix or complex, that always just thinking other people will change. Well, I know they're more immature. I know they're kind of caught up in this. I know they're kind of like that. But you can always just hope that people will change. But that is part of us in our Seven of Swords kind of not wanting to deal with the truth. And the truth is, we have very different ways of living life and viewing life. And if they were motivated to temper their ego or their immature nature or their fears or their insecurity or bossy controlling nature, they would. They wouldn't be that kind of person. But again, because we can be attracted to people or like people and want to be in friendship and relationship, we could think, oh, I'm sure they'll change. And they're like, yes, I will change. You should. Come on over. Come get in a relationship with me. And then you get in a relationship with them and they keep juggling the truth the whole time. Like, oh, no, I'm going to change. No, I'm not going to change. Oh, I'll do better. No, I'm not going to do better. Oh, I'll quit doing this. They never quit doing that. And people can do that for a long time. And eventually it's like, you know what? This causes me a lot of mental conflict, heartbreak, stress, anxiety. If I love people, I should let them live their life the way they want. If there's things about it I don't care for, then I can wish them peace and love and I can distance myself from them. You go do what you want to do. Act the way you want to act. Enjoy your life. If that's your idea of the dream life, you should live it. But that's not my idea of the dream life. So I wish you peace and love, but I'm picking up my investment in it because though I could have some worldly connection with you, family connection, attracted, wanted justice and fairness in the situation, that doesn't seem to be what's happening, and I accept the truth of it. I wish you peace and love. I've looked at life differently. I see my dream can't come into reality here because of these differences. And I'm going to go invest in this new beginning and go invest in things that are more aligned with my truth and my philosophy of life. The kind of friendships or relationships or workplaces that I think are more aligned with my truth, that I find more maybe balanced or emotionally fulfilling. And if you find that way of being or interacting or treating people or whatever, and you find that emotionally fulfilling and that's your idea of the dream life, then you go do that. Or I'm quitting this job and you can hire someone else to work with you. And then when we get out of those situations, there's a part of us, it's hard to let go of it. It's hard to let go of that dream. But the more we live our truth and the more those people keep living their truth, we kind of work through that Seven of Swords, which also is kind of Libra energy, that we can't, with the Two of Swords can be wanting to keep staying in denial of the truth. If they were more motivated and inspired to work together with me in this way, or anybody maybe in that way, they would. All I can offer people is truth and love, to work together with them cooperatively. And for some people, they might want you to do that. Like, you do that, but I want to do this. Like, indulge me in my poor behavior. It's like loving energy being with shadowy energy. You should indulge me in my poor behavior. And, it's kind of like God and devil at the big picture. God's like, hey, I love you, but even to the devil, but if you're not working together in a more just and fair and loving way, and if you're going to be hurtful and unkind and stubborn and prideful and egotistical, and it has to be more about you or competitive or jealous or envious or whatever, no. And we live in this world of duality, and those forces in the world battle against each other. At the big picture, you don't have to believe in God or the devil, but we live in a world of duality, it seems like, where you have free will to choose this or this or this or this, and to realize that everybody's at different stages and emotional maturity levels and viewpoints and attitudes of what they think is just and fair. Some people like to be more about the world, live more from their mind than their heart. It might be because of fear and insecurity, lack mentality, pain, heartbreak. People can only offer them truth and love, but then those people hold the key within themselves to free themselves from those things, if they even want to. And some people's idea is like, well, no, I don't want to do that. You just be in a relationship with me, and I want to stay in this energy. And it's like, But I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who stays in that energy. I want to be in a relationship with someone who chose to do the work to free themselves from things that manipulate them. Because the things that manipulate you don't manipulate me. And if I'm in a more involved relationship, all those things that manipulate you, in turn, I kind of have to let them manipulate me. It's like a third party in the relationship. And I want the third party in this relationship to be like having hope and faith and belief in truth and love and justice and fairness and character and integrity. And that's not the third party energy in your energy. It's more the fear, or the insecurity, or the past pain and heartbreak, or the defensiveness, or the pride, or the ego, or it has to be all about you, or something. And so I think when people do listen to their intuition, and I think we were given our intuition as a gift to help us guide us in this world, that when people are creating kind of a little hell on earth in some way, in a world of duality, that means somebody's creating a little heaven on earth. Listen to your intuition. Pick up your investment in the shadowy. Let love and intuition guide you. Listen to your intuition. Go look for a new job. Go look for different friends, And when you quit investing more of your time, energy, and effort into that, and you keep putting in work and effort, you will probably be guided to people who are more high vibe and go on that next journey of life to learn some lessons. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy? You could be in or thinking of, and you and other people either have gotten in new friendships, relationships, or possibly a marriage, or you always were in those, and this is just outside influences trying to cause chaos and disruption in your life. But probably holding on to your truth from a place of love, distancing yourself from people who you feel not on the same page with. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Death card. Why? Because of the Judgment card. So the Judgment card is like willing to hold yourself and others accountable. I can take responsibility for my part in things and how I could have contributed to things being a little more shadowy at different stages in my life. But the other people have to take accountability for theirs, and I'm not going to take personal responsibility or be in heartbreak or whatever because other people were shadowy. I'm just going to accept the truth that they were kind of shadowy or hurtful or abusive. That's on you, and I'm not going to let it keep me up in a mental prison or up in my head about it. Holding myself and other people accountable, I'm not going to repeat that old pattern. The Death card talks about death and transformation. Like the Five of Cups, the Death card is Scorpio. I'm not going to let the fact that I've dealt with shadowy people in my life, or even that at different times I could have driven my life off into the ditch and have regrets about it. I'm going to offer myself love to free myself. And I'm going to offer love to the other people in my life. They are where they're at, and just believing, kind of like karma's built into the system. If I know people who are more bossy or stubborn or prideful or whatever, there's probably going to be certain people in life who aren't going to want to be in a relationship with them. And they'll probably ultimately kind of be surrounded by other people who are more like them. So it's kind of built into the system. And we could always know people who seem to kind of get more away with things because of their looks or their charm or their status or their image or whatever. It's like, I know the truth, and some of those people know the truth. And that's good enough for me. I have a clear conscience if I spoke my truth in love and tried to work together with people cooperatively, and they know they didn't. And they might know that they had an idea to be deceptive and manipulative and be hurtful or unkind and are more about themselves and are more materialistic or indulge their more immature nature. It's like, that's like nothing to be proud of. And what they might not know is eventually that kind of wears away. And they might be kind of jealous and envious, petty people, or full of themselves. And that just, some people live their life, living their life in bad soil, They're not going to grow healthy things if they themselves are not willing to see the truth. They're probably just going to keep reaping more of what they sow, regardless of what illusion they try to create in the world. They could be in relationships with the nicest, kindest, most just, fair, loving people in the world. Odds are those people eventually are going to leave. But if those people are willing to stay, that's their free will choice. It wasn't yours. But they're still kind of a shadowy person within themselves, and it'll probably just get worse and worse if they're a shadowy, icky person, kind of like that, right? And kind of believing that eventually the truth comes out, and you're just going to let God take care of it. People can judge away. I'm going to live my truth. And like I was saying earlier, high vibe Aquarius with the Empress and the Taurus Hierophant. Sometimes people do act shadowy in workplaces or friendships or relationships or marriages, thinking you won't love and believe in yourself to get out of it, because the Hierophant and shadow can be the status and the ego and the image and what will people say and what will people think. I don't care. Between me and God, this is shadowy. This is not just and fair. People are not acting with character and integrity. And I don't care if somebody wants to lie and if people want to be deceptive and manipulative. You go ahead and do that. I think you will pay the consequences. But between me and God, I have a clear conscience. I think I did everything I could. And I've been illuminated to the truth that you could harness these energies in a shadowy way. You seem to have mental conflict about love, or more about yourself, or selfish, or controlling, or anyway, kind of feeling like maybe people committed fraud. Either, and the Hierophant also can kind of, and Libra, represent contracts. And some people do. Their whole plan is to try to get people to take the job if they're a shadowy supervisor or employer, or get in the friendship group, or get in the relationship or the marriage. And then they're hoping once they get them in there and they think they've kind of got them stuck, then it's like, okay, now I think I can go act this way, because I don't think they'll love and believe in themselves enough. And basically, I can stop being held accountable for my actions and act in these shadowy ways. And some high vibe people call judgment on them. You can, but you're going to have to do it with someone else. Because I am not staying in this. I am willing to detach emotionally and call judgment on this. And that transformed your whole life. To go give birth to something that was more aligned with truth and love. And those people then decide, probably try to find someone else to repeat that pattern with. And you're thankful you got out of it, and it's not you anymore. And now it's up for the next people to decide what they're going to do. And then it takes time to, Scorpio of the Death card can talk about, it can take time to work through all of that. And then when you do, you've healed and you are ready to kind of face your fears, pick up your investment, and listen more to your intuition, to put yourself out there or go get that new job or something. And, when we learn the lesson we were meant to learn from a phase of life, and see how certain patterns or vices or habits, things within ourselves and things outside of ourselves, how those things manipulated us. When we free ourselves from it, then we're free to go to that next phase of life. You get to go to the next level of the video game of life. You have freed yourself from things that used to manipulate you. Because of that, the devil can mean just that it's scary, but you also then, you know, still have to keep doing that work within yourself to keep choosing truth and love so you don't repeat some old patterns, because at every phase of life there's going to be more shadowy people kind of at that stage of life or spectrum of life, and more high vibe people. And some of the shadowy people are like, I want quit hanging out with these people because they're at a more enlightened level. And that's okay if kind of at any stage of life we go to, just like when we went from like 18 to 21, there's people in that category of life, stage of life, that can be much more stable, grounded, and mature. And we're kind of looking for people just at the stage of life that we're at, and, it could be a good thing, but I think it would just be to maintain balance within yourself. Remember the lessons you've already learned. Don't maybe take action being more caught up from your head or your lust or your greed or your want for these things of the world. Keep holding on to your truth, investing in your truth to make sure that the people that you maybe next invest in seem to be more on that same page than somebody, again, trying to repeat an old pattern, because they could be faking kind of the level they're at in a way. So I think high vibe people are going to transform their life, willing to hold themselves accountable, other people accountable, if they've communicated their truth to some people, and those people doesn't seem to be what they're interested in, you accept the truth of it. The truth sets you free. Okay, I'm going to keep listening to my intuition. It's time to move forward. And you move forward, and then those people, it's like, damn. And some of them, and they go do what they're doing. What's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy Aquarius in the world that they might not see coming? The King of Wands. Why? Because of the Two of Cups. Well, if they are people who do kind of more try to control people in a relationship because they don't want to change, they don't want to step out of their comfort zone, they have this way of living life and viewing life or treating people in a relationship that they want to keep doing that, it can always bother them when other people get inspired. The King of Wands is Aries energy, and fire sign energy can be being inspired by love. And that other people do this work. And they do free themselves from things that manipulate them. Because some of these other people, they don't want to do that. And they kind of wanted to be in a relationship, maybe with someone else who doesn't want to do that. Let's just keep doing things the way I've always done them. And I don't want to deal with the truth. So I don't want you to deal with the truth. I don't want you to heal. Stay fearful, stay insecure, stay up in your head. I don't even care maybe if you're kind of bossy or controlling or immature. Just don't kind of love and believe in yourself, because then you'll want me to kind of heal or grow or love and believe in myself and do things different. And I don't want to do things different. I'm willing to stay in a relationship with you so long as you don't require me to change. And that means you can't change too much. Because if you just change, you're not going to want to keep doing this. Again, it's like people who want people to live life like a 21-year-old, for example, all their life, even though they're 35, 45, 55, 85, they have this way of living life and viewing life kind of maybe of the emotional mentality level of like 18-year-olds. Let's be in a relationship to be in a relationship, or to have sex, or out of our ego or out of our fear, or let's just be immature and indulge ourselves in all these things. We're living the dream, and if that's how they live their life, they want other people to stay living their life that way. So they could be surprised that when they see other people, and again, some of these people are kind of full of themselves, kind of like the devil representing the world. If people have certain ways of looking, or charm, or money, or status, high vibe people have those things too. They just don't think that's the most valuable thing they have to offer people. Those are like perks that they maybe didn't even have any control over to a degree. They think the most important thing they have to offer people is love. But other people could have some of those traits and qualities and characteristics that people find desirable in the world. But those people have the idea, no, I think I can use this to manipulate people and maybe make it more about me, where people will indulge me in my poor behavior. And maybe some of them, since we're kind of talking about air sign energy, some people are very smart. Maybe they like to try to outwit, outplay, and it's all a game play of seeing how much work can I get out of and how can I manipulate this person to get them to do what I want. And for them, that could be a way to build their self-esteem. And the high vibe people in their life do not like to play outwit, outsmart, outplay, because that takes a fucking lot of energy for what? When you could just do love, you know? But some people, that can be a shadowy Aries energy that anyone can harness within themselves. I do kind of like to have it be more about me, and I like to control and manipulate people in a relationship. And they could be surprised when they see other people who, and that's why even if some of those kind of people get in a relationship with people that they feel like have a certain status, image, or level of attractiveness or something, they have a lot of mental conflict staying in a relationship with them because they know if they did, they would use it to try to manipulate people and kind of be more of a social climber. And some of those people have some mental conflict about what they bring to the table and maybe don't love and believe in themselves enough. So even if they do get in a relationship with someone who could be very attractive, wants to be, or something, and wants to be in a relationship with them, they're so fearful that those people are in turn just like using them or manipulating them because they know they kind of view life that way, that then they get out of those relationships and those people could be confused and hurt and I don't understand why you're acting like this. Because they just don't look at life from that perspective. It's just a completely like opposite way of viewing life. And then those people, have to work through this. So sometimes people who could be attractive, charming, have status, image, money, to a certain degree, you could have certain people who are afraid of getting in a relationship with them because those people don't know their own worth and value. And they think, well, why would you stay in a relationship with me? Those people are just a human being. And if there's someone who in their Gemini nature of free will are more motivated and inspired by love, that's why they want to be in a relationship. Everybody can want stability and security in all those things, but just because a person might have a certain level of attractiveness or might have a certain amount of power, influence, or social clout in the world, it doesn't mean that's a driving factor in their life. They could even know they have people who would be willing to indulge them and be in a relationship for all those reasons. High vibe people don't want people to indulge them in a relationship. It's like, ick, what are you doing? Why are you acting like that? Don't do that. It's like, gives me an icky feeling. Why are you acting weird? Just work together with me in a loving way. Get over whatever this is that you could make so important about me, for some people, like say if somebody was really attractive, they've been that way all their life. They don't think anything of it. They got the same fears and insecurities as everybody else in the world. And if people act weird to them, could not understand why people act weird to them. For example, but some shadowy people could want to be in a relationship with someone. It might be a little bit more for the ego and the image and the status for some of them. But maybe those people kind of are in a mental prison. With anyone we're in a relationship with, people could feel more insecure. Like, well, you seem more stable or grounded or balanced or loving or mature or, I'd have to change. I'd have to work through some of my fears. I'd have to maybe put in more work and effort. And then people cannot feel good enough. And people can want to be in relationship with them, want to hold on to them, but the other people have some issues to deal with. For other people, they could have wanted to get in a relationship with someone more for the status, the ego, the image, but those people could have fear of getting in a relationship with them if they know they had been in a relationship with more loving people. Why do you want to be in a relationship with me? You know I'm this way or that way. You were in a relationship with someone who is not maybe like me. I don't trust you. I think you're lying. And some of those people could have even listened to their intuition. I think you only want to be in a relationship with me for the status or the ego, the image. Or I kind of think you're full of yourself. And some people could even go get in a relationship with someone who they think other people won't want to get in a relationship with. But if in the devil card they have things about them that other people would view as valuable in some way, but they think other people wouldn't really get in a relationship with them for some other reasons. Some of them could be very attracted to those people. Other people, it's just, I just want to be in a relationship and I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's in that energy. But how do they tell another shadowy person, well, yeah, those people were just and fair and loving and loyal and committed and look at life from a higher perspective, but that's not my truth. I'm kind of more, I think if they just said they look at life differently than me, they're kind of more inspired to look at life differently. I'm going to happy living my life this way. I think some of those people wouldn't have a problem with it, because they might agree. And some people were manipulated by the devil. Someone who came in their life and it was strictly kind of for the purpose to get them out of this relationship, to get those people out of it because it was an unjust, unfair relationship. And the devil was just deceiving and manipulating them. And then when they got them out of this relationship so the high vibe people in their life could move on, then the devil was like, no, sorry, I was just juggling you. I really wasn't planning to bring a dream into reality with you. And then those people are like, but I thought you loved me and I thought you wanted to be in a relationship with me. It's like you were already in a relationship with people who are just and fair and loving. Why didn't you stay in a relationship with them? And it's like, because that's not what I love. You have more of the things that I love. Anyway, there we go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.